seen the government suspend a 30-day amnesty for residents of the restive North region to surrender illegal firearms.
Ingawa ile siku ya 30 days indakana kusha tarehe 23 mwezi huu, tumesema tuna muda wa kungoja. So far ile kazi ambayo imefanyika itupatie matumaini makubwa. So tumesema turudie ile kazi ya operation ambayo tutaianza kuanzia kesho. Tuna resume operation kuanzia kesho, na wakati huu itakuwa operation ambayo itakuwa na makali zaidi, kwa sababu tutaenda kutarget sio Baringo peke yake, tunataka kuongeza pia Turkana East na pia kuongeza upande wa Laikipia.
Instead, the government has announced immediate resumption of a forceful disarmament exercise. Speaking Tuesday, Rift Valley Regional Coordinator George Natembeya said preliminary investigations had established that a clique of rogue politicians were encouraging locals to disregard the amnesty and had turned the voluntary disarmament process into a supremacy contest and a campaign platform.
Wakati wananchi wameshawishiwa kuleta bunduki, unapata viongozi wengine pia wanasema kwamba hizo bunduki zikiletwa lazima walipwe shilingi 1,100. Hadi mtu akileta bunduki kama ni G3 ama AK47 apewe shilingi 1,100. So ikawa kwamba watu wanakuwa reluctant hata kuregesha hizo bunduki. Na tumesema kwamba kama hivyo ndio viongozi wamefika stage kwamba hakuna movement, maana ni kama wanaanza kulumbana, tukasema kwamba hizo objectives zetu za hiyo operation zinaanza kuwa frustrated, tukaendelea kungoja sana.
Natembeya said security personnel had managed to dismantle criminal gangs that were sponsoring cattle rustling enterprises in Laikipia County, while a major operation will focus on Silala location within Baringo County to mop up illicit firearms.
Mambo ya roadblocks tunaziregesha kuanzia leo. Tukitoka hapa kwa roadblocks zote zinawekwa pale, kwa hivyo movement into that area itakuwa restricted. Ndio ilikuwa mwanzoni tulikuwa tunafanya hivyo, watu wakaanza kuleta siasa nyingi kwamba chakula ifikii watu. Na sisi tulikuwa tumesema kwamba hii chakula ina target majangili. Kuna watu ambao wanapelekea majangili chakula. Wengine wanaona mahindi tu. Sisi tunajua kwamba kwa hiyo mahindi kuna uwezekano hata kuna marisasi imebeba pale. Huwezi kutarajia kwamba askari 5-6 ambao kwa barabara lori imekuja na imejaa mahindi 100 kwamba watamwaga magunia yote chini, unajua kama kuna.
In February this year, the government launched a mop-up exercise of illegal firearms in the region following the killing of 2 police officers by suspected cattle rustlers. High-level security teams were deployed in the volatile spots in Baringo, Turkana, Laikipia, Samburu and Elgeyo-Marakwet counties. The operation was called off after governors and elected leaders from affected regions undertook to mobilize the communities to abandon cattle rustling activities and surrender their weapons to the government. Caroline Kamar reporting for Channel 1 News.
President Uhuru Kenyatta says that the COVID-19 pandemic has driven over 40 million Africans into extreme poverty. The Kenyan head of state said African countries require improved access to finance to be able to restart their economies and embark on a low-carbon, resilient and inclusive recovery. Now, President Kenyatta, who spoke Tuesday at State House, Nairobi, during a virtual leaders' dialogue on the African COVID climate emergency organized by the Global Center on Adaptation and African Development Bank.
President Uhuru Kenyatta said COVID-19 pandemic has worsened the impact of climate change on African economies and has seen continent's gross domestic product for the first time in 25 years dropped by over 3% in 2020. President Kenyatta emphasized on the need for climate action that supports sustainable development and post-COVID-19 green recovery plans to build back better, saying Kenya loses 3% of its GDP annually to climate change.
The program, ladies and gentlemen, I believe will go a long way to support countries like Kenya to scale up climate adaptation and resilience and to provide significant resources for climate adaptation throughout Africa and indeed throughout the Caribbean, the Pacific, and most of the global south.
The head of state told a high-level meeting that was chaired by Global Center on Adaptation chairperson Ban Ki-moon and President of African Development Bank Akinwumi Adesina that Kenya has deployed significant national resources to scale up climate change adaptation efforts. He said for Africa to achieve its climate change adaptation agenda, there was need for more private sector participation and support from development partners.
And I want to underscore on the need to also leverage private sector as well as international finance if we are to achieve this ambitious climate adaptation agenda. It is only through partnerships like this that we can strengthen and accelerate resilience across our continent.
The President commended African Development Bank and the Global Center on Adaptation for spearheading the African Development Acceleration Program, saying the initiative will assist African countries to address climate change better.
The current level of ambition, ladies and gentlemen, we must agree is too low to meet the Paris Agreement of 1.5 degrees centigrade. The 2020 Interim United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change Synthesis Report submitted nationally determined contributions. This indicates that we can only close the emissions gap and build the resilience of our communities if the major emitters raise their ambition. And all countries submit their updated nationally determined contributions before COP26 later this year.
The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who addressed the meeting, called for stronger financial commitments from the developed nations to support climate change mitigation and adoption programs in the developing world. For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Well, still on COVID-19, 14 more people have been reported dead in the last 24 hours from coronavirus-related complications as the country confirmed 394 new cases. The new cases indicate a positivity rate of 13.5%, with Kenya now having vaccinated 325,592 people against the virus.
277 adverse effects have been reported among 325,592 people who have so far been vaccinated against COVID-19 in the country. Nairobi County is leading, having vaccinated 108,180 people, followed by Nakuru with 23,511, Uasin Gishu 18,516, Kisumu 13,644, while Kiambu has vaccinated 13,623 people so far. The ministry promising that those who had taken the first dose would receive the second one as planned. The country also recorded 14 deaths, and the fatalities now stand at 2,258. Currently, 1,576 patients are admitted in hospital, with 205 in the intensive care unit. These come in as Kisumu Deputy Governor Dr. Matthews Owili cautioned area residents against lowering their guard in fighting the pandemic.
People are getting COVID or contracted COVID just from where they live, in the community. The person sitting next to you in the matatu, the person sitting next to you in the bar, if you still go there, the person who may be sitting next to you in charge. We are saying that the spread of the virus right now is at the community level.
The DG spoke during a tour of the county's COVID-19 call center. While the county government of Busia is urging locals to take advantage of the government's vaccination program against COVID-19 and receive the jab.
Initially, the turnout was low. But I'm glad even today, as you walk around, the numbers are quite high, and we are very hopeful that the exercise will be a success, as this is one of the key interventions to fight the coronavirus.
This third wave seems to be more ferocious than even the first one, and also just to offer residents, those who have been scared that there's any problem with the jab, there's no problem with the jab.
The county has so far managed to vaccinate 2,000 people. Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
On a separate matter, Kakamega County government has deployed a team of medical experts to probe a mysterious disease that is said to have killed at least 8 people in a span of 1 month in Shina village in Malimili sublocation Shinyalu constituency. The disease, according to residents, has also left more than 10 people seriously ill. Locals, however, allege that the deaths are due to witchcraft.
Residents of Shina village, Malimili sublocation Shinyalu constituency are a worried lot after 8 villagers died from a mysterious disease in a period of 1 month. According to the villagers, victims exhibit swollen limbs followed by open wounds before succumbing to the disease within 2 days. Victims of the rare ailment giving their accounts.
Mkono wetu wanafuranga tu hii mkono. Ikakuwa tu hivyo tena ikatoka ngozi, ikakufa, kazika. Kidogo mwingine akakufa huko ng'ambo tena mkono tu hapo ng'ambo kidogo. Mkono huu tu katoka ngozi tu hivyo akakufa. Tena mwingine hapo juu kabisa tena anafura mkono akakufa. Hatujui ni nini.
Kidole tu hapa. Katu kamepimba tu hapa. Si mkono yote hapa tu kwa mkono.
However, locals attribute the mysterious disease to some witchcraft, claiming that it was a work of a local brewer who orchestrated a revenge mission after a known person stole his brew and sold to the people.
Watu wanakunywa pombe ya mwenyewe anachukua hiyo pombe, analeta mtu, analoka hawa watu, ndio watu wanakufa. Watu wanafura tu mkono tu kwa mshoto hii, wanaanzia hapo, wanaanza kukufa. Kwa siku moja, kwa siku mbili, mtu anakufa. Wanakufa watu karibu watu 8.
Hiyo ugonjwa ilianza kafura mpaka ikafika hii hapa hivi. Wenye walikufa mbele ilikuwa inafikanga hapa, ikifika hapa mtu anakufa anaenda. Lakini mimi nilisuia, ilifika hapa naona kama napona. Nijaribu kulamba hii matawa ya nini ya kienyeji. Pia nikaenda hospitali. Nilikimbilia njia zote.
Kakamega Health CEC Collins Matemba says the county government has already sent a team of health specialists to the area to ascertain the cause of the deaths. Timothy Kipnusu, Channel 1 News.
Well, on that note, we'll take a short break. Well, there's still more ahead to come. Don't go too far.
On the next episode of Ashoka. 92.9. Hii ni KBC Radio Taifa.
Kila kitu maishani sina sauti yaleta furaha. Radio. Sauti ya elimisha yahimiza yatuleta pamoja. Sauti ya Kenya. Radio Taifa.
Welcome back. Now let's proceed. Police in Kisii County have launched a manhunt for a man who allegedly defiled his 6-year-old stepdaughter at Nyamare Village, Marani Sub-County. Marani Deputy County Commissioner David Saruni said the man had reportedly defiled his daughter and attempted to cover up the crime before he went into hiding. According to residents, the explanation from the mother claiming her daughter had been injured by a nail in a domestic incident was not adding up. The angry residents who took to the street to demand justice for the little girl claimed her stepfather Julius Ogambo, age 50, had just returned home from Rift Valley where he performed menial jobs when he violated his daughter.
They came up with a false story of saying that it was an accident, but because of the structures we put in place, we have officers who are able to examine the baby, and they realized it was a very bad defilement case, and they did first aid, and they referred the kid to our KTRH, where the baby, I can confirm, is doing quite well right now under management, and the other issues now we leave all the investigation under the police, because that is their role to do that.
He had married the child's mother as his second wife following the death of his first spouse. The child was rushed to Marani Sub-County Hospital before she was transferred to Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital for specialized treatment. Marani Deputy County Commissioner David Saruni confirmed the incident and warned the local community against concealing such crimes. Gender lobbyists in the area have come out strongly to condemn the incident.
Let us protect our children as neighbors. Let's own children as it was in the past, that children belong to the society, by voicing up any of these issues and helping in investigation. Don't hide those.
Your girl amekuwa defiled. Tafadhali toka nje, sema ndio utapata usaidizi. Wakati unanyamaza, hakuna vile ule mtoto atakuja pata usaidizi, hakuna vile mtoto atakuja pata haki yake, na wewe kama mama hautapata haki.
Huu wa corona, vile kuna lockdown, watoto wetu wako nyumbani. Tusipowatetea, ni nani atawatetea? Mtoto akiwa nyumbani muangalie.
Security officers are on the track of the defiler as the investigations onto the matter continues. We move to Kitui County, where the county government now says it will henceforth take up all defilement cases in the region. The county government said a standby lawyer has been identified for the cases, adding that the presence of many kangaroo courts in the area has interfered with the handling of such cases and subsequent lack of justice for the victims. The development coming as defilement cases in the county reach an alarming level.
17-year-old Mercy, not her real name, vividly remembers the traumatic experience she went through after being raped while on her way home from fetching water.
Nilienda Kikuna nikarudi, nilikuwa nimeendea maji. Nikirudisha mapunda kwenye anga, tunarudisha, kijana akafanya kunikamata. Akanivuruta, akanipeleka kwa kishaka, akanifanya kunirepa, akanishika.
A similar tale is shared by this 14-year-old girl, whom we shall call Grace. She didn't know that her accepting a ride home would land her in the hands of a sex predator who robbed her of her childhood. Even for Lucy, who thought she was in the safest place, her parents' home was not spared. Lucy describes the pain she went through after she was defiled by an uninvited guest.
Alinishika rinda, mimi nikajifuruta. Kuendelea kujifuruta, akanishinda nguvu, mimi nikamuuma kwa mkono. Penye nilimuuma, akaendelea tu kunifuruta, akaniangusha.
Mercy, Grace and Lucy now join the list of victims of defilement, which is getting longer in Kitui County, with the journey to get justice proving to be long and unbearable.
Tangu wakati walipoenda hata sasa amejificha Nairobi. Sasa nilikuwa nasema serikali saidie kina mama mambo kama haya.
Sasa hii tunataka usaidizi kwa serikali, kwa sababu jamii yao inasema kama tuna kitu, huyo kijana akitoka tutastaki, baba yake atastaki na atauza mpaka auze shamba. Kwa hivyo tunataka serikali ingilie hapo.
The narrative is, however, changing following a move by the Kitui County government, which now says it will henceforth take up all defilement cases in the region.
Vijana wana rape wasichana, wanakimbia ama akipatiwa bond, anakimbia, anahepa, anakosa kwa pia kotini. Nataka kusema ya kwamba hata ukienda wapi, the law will follow you.
According to Kitui County Gender, Culture and Sports CEC Helena Ken, the presence of many kangaroo courts in the area has denied victims their right to justice.
Kile kimekuwa sana sana ni kuona huyu mzazi maybe ni poor awezi fuatilia kesi. Now cases of defilement hatutaachilia. Ministry yangu haitaachilia cases of defilement to be handled by wazazi.
Hakuna nafasi ambayo tutapeana kwa mtu yeyote ambayo anania kwa akili yake kumkosea mtoto, kudefile mtoto, kumharibia mtoto wetu maisha.
The CC has sent a stern warning to the perpetrators, saying that their days are numbered. Mumoni sub-county in Mwingi North has been identified by the county government as the hotspot of defilement cases. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Ouma.
In other news, popular Kikuyu Benga musician Albert Gasheru is dead. He is popularly known for Mwendwa Wakwa Mariru, Mumunyae, among other songs. Gasheru died at the Kenyatta National Hospital while undergoing treatment after a long illness. He will be remembered as a champion of the rights of musicians in the country over copyright infringement.
Albert Gasheru, the MARIRU song hit maker, is dead. MARIRU was one of the most popular songs in the 90s. For most Kikuyu music lovers, it was more of a community anthem when played in bars, nightclubs, and other entertainment spots. At some point, MARIRU's popularity went beyond Gasheru's Central Kenya's fan base. Indeed, Albert Gasheru is among the greatest Kikuyu musicians of all times. His songs dominated the airwaves for decades. Gasheru is also known for Mumunya, Hari Hari Waithera, Indoshiakwa, among others. The 59-year-old singer and songwriter died after a long battle with an undisclosed illness. At Kenyatta National Hospital, his friends eulogized him as an inspiration to many who fought for the rights of the musicians in the copyright cases. At Gasheru's Boyman village at Gashanji, Oljororok constituency in Nyandarua County, somber mood prevailed as residents mourned their hero.
Gasheru akiingia akitaka mambo ya nini ya ukitaka mambo akusaidie maneno yoyote hata kama ni ya shule, mwambie Gasheru, mimi nataka kitu kidogo nipeleke mtoto kwa shule. Ananikueleza ni pesa ngapi unataka. Gasheru anakupatia pesa, unarudisha mtoto kwa shule, anasema mtoto sio yako, mtoto ni ya ulimwengu.
Hakuwa mtu akujiweka juu, hakuwa mtu wa maringo. Ukikutana na yeye tu anazungumza na wewe hata kama mtoto tu amsema maito ama Mumunya, anajulikana sana Mumunya.
Kwa tunamfahamu kama mtoto wa nyumbani na hata nyimbo zake tulisipenda sana. Tumemkosa. Tumekuwa kumuombea tangu tulisikia ugonjwa yake.
He served as the producer behind artists such as the late Queen Jane, the late John DiMaggio, and gospel singers Mary Wambiru and Shari Martin, among a host of other musicians. Born in Nyandarua County, the trained accountant, who also pursued law at the Mount Kenya University, has been fighting for the rights of musicians and streamlining of the Copyrights Act in an effort to protect both musicians and producers. Gasheru had also expressed interest to contest for political seat in the 2022 general election. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Well, may he rest in peace. Now, police in Kiambu have launched investigations into the death of a 74-year-old woman whose body was found in a drum full of water. Confirming the incident, Area Chief Daniel Kamau said the body of the woman was found partially submerged in the drum at her home.
A
Somber mood engulfed Githunguri in Kiambu County after the body of a 74-year-old woman was discovered in a drum full of water. According to the area chief Daniel Kamau, the elderly woman has been living alone in her compound. According to her daughter Jerry, she had earlier tried to reach her mother only to be told that she had passed on.
Nikapigiwa simu mara kadhaa. Wakati nilichukua hiyo simu huwa nikasikia sio yeye amesukua. Nikaambiwa nikimbie haraka nyumbani, mama ni mgonjwa.
Karibia hapo mama.
Elsewhere, residents of Ngorongo village of Gitundu North sub-county have protested over rampant cattle theft in the area. On Monday night, a resident said that at least 8 hybrid milking cows were stolen from various homes living households that rely on selling milk for survival confused.
Tunaona ndio wako na uhuru wa kutembea na kutuibia na kutupora na kufanya mambo yote ambao wanataka. Ng'ombe zaidi ya 8 wamebeba usiku wa leo.
And residents of Bumula and Mount Elgon regions have been ordered to move to safer grounds owing to the ongoing torrential rains. Bungoma County Commissioner Samuel Kimiti said that some areas are too slopey and are experiencing serious floods. And drama ensued in a village in Lodo after a family was denied access to the burial of one of their own by armed police officers. According to the locals, the deceased, an engineer in the county, was buried at the home of the second wife, contrary to Turkana traditions. Police had a hard time dispersing the angry residents who vowed to rebury the deceased according to the local traditions.
Tunaambia hiki kitu ni kimila. Ndio maana tunahitaji huyu ndugu yetu tusikie wapi kwa huyu bibi mkubwa ndio tufanyie kimila. Sasa amesika ndugu yetu bila sisi hata kumwagia mchanga wala watoto wake.
He was buried but none of us attended. As the children, we have never seen our dad since he passed on. We did not even see his coffin.
Finally, a Mombasa-based security guard who was captured on camera torturing an identified man was today arraigned in court to answer to charges of causing grievous harm. The 33-year-old Swabir Abdul Razak Muhammad was, however, not charged after the DCI team probing the alleged torture of the homeless man sought 14 more days to complete their investigations. Yusufar, Channel 1 News.
Moving on, Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has hinted at major changes in the country's response to COVID-19 pandemic. This departs from the hard stance by her predecessor, the late John Magufuli, who often dismissed the presence of the coronavirus in Tanzania.
At a swearing-in ceremony for ministers on Tuesday, Samia Suluhu announced plans for an expert task force to advise government on anti-coronavirus measures. The president also hinted at major potential changes in the country's foreign policy, directing the new Foreign Affairs Minister Liberator Mulamula to set about mending international relations and saying Tanzania cannot isolate itself as an island in the fight against COVID-19. Similarly, President Suluhu has lifted bans slapped on a number of media outlets by her predecessor who died last month. Speaking during the swearing-in of new ministers and permanent secretaries, President Samia said government must not be seen to curtail media freedoms, adding that media rules, regulations and penalties should be transparent so that everyone knows what to expect should they do wrong and so that the punishment is proportionate. For Channel 1 News, I'm Wamboy Otiende.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya jogging kwa simu yako, bonyeza star 811 star 758 hash. Good morning, class. Good morning, Now I want to try the composition using the word jogging. Please give us spelling for the word jogging. Sitasema jogi ile jogi ya kunyongwa, hapana. Ninasema jogging. Na sitasema jogi ile ndio unasema jogi ya kukimbia ya marathon ama ile jogi nyingine ile jogi ya television ya kucheka. Sitasema hiyo jogging na maanisha jogging ya brand ile kukimbiza akili cha changamoto. Data composition using the word jogging. Ili kupata skiza tune hii, bonyeza star 811 star 758 hash, star 811 star 758 hash. On January 18, 1989, I died. When I woke up, I was in heaven. The man in the red Ford is deceased. I'd like to pray for him. He's alive! Grandpa! Your husband is very badly injured. We are doing everything we can to save him. I'm so scared. God, please help us. You know, it's going to be tough, but don't need you. I'm all I'm ready to die.
Welcome back. Now let's talk business. There is reduced demand for commercial office spaces in Nairobi as firms continue to downsize due to the COVID-19 related financial constraints, while others embrace the working from home strategy. This is according to the latest CYTONN market report for the first 3 months of this year, which further projects that rental prices could reduce as landlords offer discounts and concessions to attract and retain tenants.
During the first 3 months of this year, the real estate sector recorded moderate activities, with the residential sector recording an improvement in performance with an average year-on-year total returns to investors at 5.1%, up from 4.7% recorded in a similar period last year. However, land continued to show resilience, recording an average annualized capital appreciation of 2.8%, indicating that people consider land as a good investment asset in the long run despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Satellite towns in the Nairobi metropolitan area recorded the highest annualized capital appreciation of 7.2%, which has been attributed to the affordability of land, continued focus on affordable housing, and improving infrastructure, opening up the areas for development. However, the CYTONN market report gives a negative outlook for the commercial office sector in the Nairobi metropolitan area, attributing this to the reduced demand of commercial office spaces due to the COVID-19 pandemic amid tough economic environments. This is according to the latest report that has seen firms continue to downsize due to financial constraints, while others have embraced working from home strategies. Further, landlords are expected to continue adopting strategies to cushion themselves against the impacts of the pandemic, such as giving discounts and concessions to attract and retain clients. Despite these limitations, the real estate sector is projected to remain an attractive investment class in the long run, as it continues to offer high returns, security of returns for investors, with a guarantee of increased value for as long as the investor has a good location and can come up with a compelling concept. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Traders allocated stalls in the new 4,000 capacity fresh produce market along KAGUNDO Road will have to wait a little longer before occupying it. Nairobi County Trade Executive Winfred Gadago said complaints in allocation of stalls and correction of minor defects have to be addressed before the facility's official opening.
Elevators, automatic hand dryers, fire suppression systems. These are just some of the modern features traders and their customers stand to enjoy at the new fresh produce market along KAGUNDO Road. However, the 800 million shillings facility still awaits official opening despite being finished in 2018.
We expect at least to be considered, and by being the MC of this area and the good working relationship that we have with the executive part, I believe nothing will go as not planned.
Traders have in the past cried foul over the allocation process, with some claiming to have fallen prey to unscrupulous dealers pretending to allocate space at the facility.
Fire stations and the markets have come to a conclusion. But before they are taken over, as it has been said, there are processes that must be undertaken for purposes of fair and transparent allocation of the stalls.
Those people who are affected by the project will be given some priority, However, we have 2,500 and above spaces, and yet these people by approximation are around 900. So we have a lot of space for other traders to come in.
The market, constructed through a partnership between the county government of Nairobi and the African Development Bank, has attracted its fair share of controversy, with Nairobi County now moving to dispel fears on who will actually occupy the facility.
They are working on how the allocations will be done. This is coming very soon. Actually, the few amendments that we would want done will be done in very few weeks before the contractor leaves the site.
MARIRU, Westlands, Gikomba and Karandini markets are still waiting official commissioning, but are also set to add to the number of markets for fresh produce traders and small traders around Nairobi.
There's no simple trade-off between finishing a development and giving the affected persons the sanctity that they need, especially for a development like this one. Traders who are affected are now waiting with anxious breath to see if they'll be allocated a piece of this big pie. Alan Auko, Channel 1 Business, Nairobi.
At least 100 smallholder farmers drawn from Nakuruto and Chala areas of Taita Taveta County are to access water following the completion of a 45 million shilling irrigation scheme in the region by the Coast Development Authority. The project is aimed at weaning farmers from over-reliance on rain-fed agriculture.
Agriculture is among Kenya's top income earners. During the third quarter of 2020, the annual value added by the agriculture sector to the gross domestic product was measured at roughly 3,260 billion Kenyan shillings. However, over-reliance on rain-fed agriculture threatens growth owing to erratic weather patterns characterized by occasional dry spells and floods. To remedy this, there has been a push towards irrigation.
They've been able to give to the community is doing well. We've seen bananas, we've seen other crops, livestock rearing. They have a challenge of wildlife and so on. But I think the vision is still there to ensure that the people of this area, including the entire Taita Taveta, have food to eat and some for the market.
Coast Development Authority Managing Director Dr. Mohamed Kenan says the project is aimed at utilizing the Lake Chala water resource to supply water to the residents for domestic use and irrigation. The water will also be supplied to the Savon National Park.
We have decided to drill a borehole just at the edge of Lake Chala. That borehole is supposed to provide water for domestic use and for irrigation.
With the completion of the first phase of the public irrigation project, at least 100 smallholder farmers drawn from Nakuruto and Chala areas of Taita Taveta County will access water to support irrigation all year round for social economic development. For Channel 1 News, I'm Jacqueline Masharia.
Now, World Bank projects that China, the United States and other group of 20 major economies are likely to extend a freeze in bilateral debt service payments through the end of 2021 when they meet this week. This comes as Kenya is to receive a 262 billion shilling loan from the International Monetary Fund. Details of these and other stories from across the globe.
World Bank President David Malpass said on Monday he expects China, the United States and other group of 20 major economies to extend a freeze in bilateral debt services payment through the end of 2021 when they met this week. The G20 debt service suspension initiative has already helped countries to defer some $5.7 billion in payment through the end of 2020, with another $7.3 billion in deferred payments expected through June, according to World Bank data. Extending the debt payment freeze through the year end will save even more money that countries could use to combat the COVID-19 pandemic and support their economies. And oil prices rose as investors look for bargains following the previous day's plunge of more than 4% on rising output from OPEC. Brent crude futures rose from 0.61% to $62.53 a barrel after falling by 4.2% on Monday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose from 0.58% to $58.99 per barrel after sliding 4.6%. Market the sentiment was buoyed by a survey from the Institute for Supply Management on Monday, showing activity in the U.S. service industry reached its highest level on record in March. The data come after job report on Friday beat forecast with 916,000 added to the U.S. economy last month. Finally, a Supreme Court has ruled 6-2 in favor of Google in a decade-long battle over copied code in Google's Android operating system. Oracle, another tech titan, has sued Google in 2010 for copyright infringement over what it said was copied computer code. Android is now used in an estimated 70% of global smartphones, and damages could have run into billions. But the Supreme Court let Google off the hook, overturning a lower court's decision it had infringed copyright. Terry Njenga, Channel 1 Business.